I have been asleep for what feels like centuries. Today, I did not wake up in my room. The air was freezing, thick with the heavy stench of copper and damp rot. I opened my heavy eyelids and stared up at a vaulted concrete ceiling, stained with centuries of black weeping mold. The nightmare had begun, and this time there was no bed to return to. I stood up, my bare feet burning against the freezing stone. The silence of the ward was broken by a distant, heavy metallic clank. Somewhere down the dark, curved corridor, a rusted door had swung open. Something was in here with me, and it was moving. The air grew colder, and the faint green emergency lights began to flicker erratically. I took a slow step forward, but the concrete floor beneath my feet felt strange. It was soft, almost damp, pulsating like the flesh of a living creature. The black mold on the walls was spreading, growing thicker, crawling toward me like thousands of tiny, silent spiders. Then came the whispers. They didn't come from the hallway. They came from inside the rusted iron ventilation pipes above my head. A chaotic chorus of 1,000 scratching voices, breathing my name into the dark. They knew who I was. They knew why I was brought here. I started to run. The curved corridor seemed to stretch endlessly, looping back into itself. Every door I passed was locked, sealed with heavy steel chains. Behind the rusted metal, I could hear the faint, desperate sound of fingernails clawing against the iron. The eternal sleepers were trying to break out. Suddenly, the flickering lights went completely black. Total, absolute darkness. I froze, holding my breath. In the dead silence, I heard it. Heavy, dragging footsteps coming from right behind me. The wet, rhythmic scraping of iron against the stone floor. The caretaker was here. Panic tore through my chest. I lunged forward into the dark, blindly feeling the walls. My hands caught a heavy brass doorknob that actually turned. I threw myself inside the room, slamming the door shut and sliding my back down against the cold wood, gasping for air. I was inside an old medical examination room. A single vintage operating light above me flickered once, illuminating rows of broken surgical instruments covered in dark, dried fluid. But that wasn't the worst part. Standing in the center of the room was a giant, cracked vanity mirror. I slowly approached the glass. Trembling, I looked at my reflection, but my blood turned to ice. The reflection didn't mimic my fear. It stood perfectly still, staring back at me with completely empty, hollow black eyes. And then it raised a pale hand and pointed directly at the ceiling right above my head. I looked up. The concrete ceiling was gone, replaced by a massive, twisting vortex of pure cosmic darkness. Hundreds of pale, faceless heads were staring down at me, their mouths wide open in a deafening, silent scream. I felt myself being lifted off the ground, pulled into the abyss. I opened my eyes with a violent scream, waking up in my own bed. The sun was shining. I was safe. But when I looked down at the floorboards, a thick layer of wet, black, weeping mold was slowly crawling out from beneath my bed.